Well, hello, hello. I'm Amy Carney, the author of Parent on Purpose, and I'm so excited that you've joined us today to talk about the importance of teaching our kids financial literacy. And I'm so excited to introduce you to my special guest today, who is the expert in this arena and here to talk to us to help us better, give our kids these tools and skills. Shireen Eddleblute is the founder of Sprouting Sparks and a champion for financial literacy and education empowerment. With 2 decades of experience in the investment sector, she transitioned from Wall Street to focus on family and advocate for vulnerable and disadvantaged children, and is now writing children's books on financial literacy through her FinTales book series. And an inside scoop is we are friends. We met a long time ago when our boys were in hockey together and they went to school together, and we live in Arizona. And so I'm just so excited for you to meet my friend, Shireen Eddleblute. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited. And congratulations on your first brand new children's
Yes.
book. Yes, I
Thank
just
you.
love it so much. And we will talk more about that in the end. But I've written a few blogs, which on helping teach parents money skills, for their children and their family. And I'm very passionate about the topic, but I am no expert, and that's why you're here today to help teach us. Because I was a little nervous to share my blogs with you, not knowing how, and you were so good, and I was like so relieved that. What I wrote and what I encourage parents to do was in alignment with you. And so I do understand the importance of this, and I'm so excited for you to help teach us more things that we can be doing with our kids, from toddlers to teenagers. So let's dive right in, though. We only have so much time to talk about 5 ways to raise financially fit kids. Can you tell us, what does it mean what does a financially fit kid look like?
I know. So it's interesting because I feel like so many parents shy away from discussing finances with their kids. It's almost like they treat money as a taboo. But we really need to talk about money, more openly and more frequently. And we clearly need to model, good financial behavior. And I think you need to do that by leading by example, because the reality is children learn behaviors primarily from hearing us, observing others, but particularly their parents. Kids are great imitators. So I think children really need their parents making those thoughtful financial decisions in front of them so that they can follow suit. So I would say, give them something great to imitate, right? Teach them the value of money by showing them how to save, spend wisely, and give back, and give generously.
Well, you dove right into our first topic, right? You when I said dive in, you were dove right in. So yeah, our first topic is model conscious spending habits. Like I said, that could go along with saving habits, but model conscious habits. Talk to us more about that. Why is that so important? What we're doing in our families and in front of our children.
Right. Well, they're watching us, right? So they are going to imitate what we do, and so I think it's important that we show them what's the right way to manage our money, what's the right way to save, and to be careful of how we spend our money. But having said that, I think we also have to show them we've all made financial mistakes. I've been in the industry for 20 plus years, and you can't hide your mistakes. I think those are valuable learning lessons, and sharing your financial missteps are probably some of the best ways to teach them. One of my favorite quotes is by Warren Buffett. It's good to learn from your mistakes, but it's even better to learn from other people's mistakes, right? So show them, talk to them about it. It's okay. We've all been there. Nobody's perfect. But talk to them about paying credit card interest that you shouldn't have, or buying that thing that you so wanted, but you're having to pay for it for years now, right? On added interest on your credit card debt. So those kinds of things of talking about mistakes are important. And, research shows that when you're 3, you can learn basic concepts, but when you're 4, you actually understand the value of money. Like, you can grasp numerical values, and and concepts like gratitude and delayed gratification. And by 7, you can actually form money habits. So I think teaching this stuff as early as you can is when you should start.
Talk to us about, I know you've got several blogs on your website,
Mhm.
which I'm going to put your website up here right now. Talk about the needs versus wants. That was something that you suggested parents do, like an activity. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think a grocery store, I know sometimes it's easier to go to the grocery store without kids. Like, can somebody please watch them so I can get in and get out, right? But taking them to a grocery store is probably one of the best ways to show them practical scenarios of needs and wants. Like, just create a shopping list. Go there and write a list for necessities, the needs, and some non-essentials, the wants, and set a budget. Pick categories and involve the kids in deciding which one fits within this budget, which one fits under the category of needs. Like milk and bread, we need that. What about cookies or some candy at the checkout counter, right? Those are obviously wants, and we need to teach them that, hey, we only have X amount of money, we have a small budget, we need to manage it, but we also need choices. Life's all about choices, and we need to stick within our budgeted amounts and choose wisely.
I love that. I love that idea of the financial field trips you talk about. And I know the grocery store is one of them. So you have to go on and check out Shireen's blog later for some more ideas like that. Okay, let's dive into number 2. Number 2 is consider ways that our children can earn money, right? A lot of people, I think that kids can't earn money until they're of working age. Can you tell us why this is important, and why is it important to get our children, the mindset of working early?
Yeah, I think, it teaches them the value of money. A lot of times kids don't even realize that things cost money. They think they can just do whatever, buy whatever, eat whatever. And I think it's so important to understand the connection between effort and reward, and teach them responsibility, work ethic, the value of money. We actually didn't make our kids get a job until they were later, but we did think that entrepreneurship you can start entrepreneurship early on. That fosters so many creativity, problem solving. It can teach you financial literacy. Actually, I was just on the news today talking about summer jobs and how we can do lemonade stands, or we could walk dogs or pet sitting. There's so many things that we can do, but it's a great way to teach them about budget, teaching them about costs and profits. So I'm a huge proponent of incorporating entrepreneurship, getting a job, depending on their age, and really pushing that.
Yeah, I love that. In my book, Parent on Purpose, I have a chapter on raising grounded kids. And that's exactly what I talk about, encouraging entrepreneurship early. And I did that with my boys. We've made all of our kids go to work at 16 in the community as they're able to, right, around sports and activities and all that. But I know I went to work when I was 15 at Burger King back in the day, and I learned so much right from that first job. And when my mom made me pay for my own Gloria Vanderbilt jeans, right? I was not happy.
Those were expensive.
They were expensive, yeah. And I had to go, flip Whoppers to be able to afford them.
Right.
But they were mine, right? I was able to pay for them. And I think that sometimes we get caught up in doing everything and using our own money and losing sight of helping, our kids learn those valuable skills while they're in our home. So
our oldest, he started refereeing actually hockey, because that's how we know each other, through the sport of hockey. And he became a ref, and that was an interesting job because he actually had to go through classes and get certified, and there's different levels, but it was a great way to work around his busy hockey schedule. And it was a great way for him to learn the game of hockey, because you really need to know all of the, the ins and outs of how it flows, and, all of that stuff. But
yeah, I remember that. I think the boys were jealous because they were like at the breakfast restaurant, and yours are, it's so good, right?
Yeah, it is. Our older son, actually, it was funny. We told him he was done playing travel hockey, and we're like, okay, now it's time for you got to get a job. And I said, don't come home until you've applied to at least half a dozen jobs and few hours later, we're like, where is he? And he sends us a picture of this sink full of dishes, and he's a jokester. So we instantly thought, oh, that must be a stock photo he got off the internet. And no, he got hired right then and there, and he was a dishwasher. So that's what he did. And he moved from dishwashing to being a host, to being a server. And these are all skills that, you know, they're never going to learn if they don't have a job. So they need to be humbled and learn the value of work ethic, you know, not just in sports, but in a real life job.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we want to make sure we're always considering ways that our kids can earn money, no matter what age they are, right? And we want them earning money because number 3, then we can give them a consistent allowance to manage. And allowance can be a hot topic because there's so many ways to do it. We always feel like we're not doing it right. And everyone has an opinion on it. I have an opinion on it. I wrote a blog on 4 tips for giving kids allowance. Tell us what you think allowance is important. When should we be giving allowance? Give us some tips on allowance.
Sure. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. Allowances can be a really powerful tool. But I think it does need to be implemented correctly, because a lot of parents give allowance, but they don't really give any clear guidelines of why are you getting it. Right. So I think the number one thing you need to do is set clear expectations for allowances and tie them to a specific chore responsibility. I know some parents pay their kids to do chores around the house. My husband and I always offered our kids a financial incentive for getting A's. Now, some people might find that controversial, but for us, that was our way of teaching them early on how the business world works, because ultimately you get paid. You know, oftentimes people get bonuses, and that's usually performance-based, right? So I feel like that was our way to show them that, incentivizes higher productivity and performance. And if you do well, you get paid. So A's got a certain amount, B's not so much. And definitely we weren't, I'm an Indian mom, so we better get those good grades, right? But with the chores, I know a lot of parents, they do have regular chores on, that's part of their chore chart, and that's how they get paid for allowances. But for us, we had a busy household. I worked when my kids were younger, and I didn't have time to do a lot of things. So I made them do certain things. So we expected them to do regular chores, and they didn't get paid for that. But again, I know that can be controversial. So I think you really got to do what works best for your family, what works best for your child and their needs and your family situation. But I think I didn't start at 5 or 7 with our kids, but I think that's a great age to actually start with chores, if that's the route that you go. And then for us, we implemented an allowance more in middle school, because that's when we wanted them to understand like how important it is to study hard and do your best in school.
It's good. And like your book series is geared 3 to 8, correct? For children,
Correct.
3 to 8.
Yes.
So I think that's a great age too, school age kids, right? And I hate to say this, but I was horribly inconsistent. It's very hard. I mean, I have 6 kids.
Yeah.
And a lot going on, and and I would try to be inconsistent. But one thing that I wrote about, and that I liked, is the idea of thinking about even giving them more than what you would give, what you think you would give in a normal allowance, and then you expect them to pay for things on their own. Like I remember, we had a list of things that they were responsible for paying for their haircuts. They had to pay for their cell phone bill, certain things, and they started thinking, well, wait, I can let my hair grow a little longer, right? I don't need to get it cut. Or they were like, well, they were negotiating with us on the data plan. Maybe can I get a cheaper data plan, right? Because when they have to pay for something, they start realizing the value of $1.
Sure.
Right. And so that's one of the ways I wrote about doing it, and is looking at as a way for them to start learning how much things cost, because really they're clueless. We have an entitled generation, right, that just thinks money grows on trees. And
absolutely. I actually love what you implemented. I kind of wish I would have done that with mine. I mean, that now that they're adults, they do that. But when they were at home, I wish they would have been paying for their haircuts, because then I think you're right. I would have gotten my older son's curls a little bigger. He would have had the fro going on instead of a clean cut.
Oh, that's too funny. But anyway, so yeah, allowance is a hot topic. I think that have you written about it on your blog yet?
I have briefly, I did touch upon it. Just just one of the big mistakes that I think parents make is not talking about it and not implementing it properly. So that's why I did touch upon it. I
Yeah.
think setting clear expectations of what you expect done and not just paying them, like weekly. Oh no, they have to actually do that. Check it off, right? And do it
Yeah.
right.
And I think you said like being purposeful about it. And that's my whole point, like parent on purpose, right? Think about why you're doing this. What is the end goal and what works best for your family, right? For implementing allowance. Everybody has a different dynamic.
Sure.
And we all do our best. Like I said, I really wish I could have been very consistent throughout, but it is difficult to do. But
It
the
is.
kids will
It
hold
is.
you accountable. I think the kids will hold you accountable if you're giving money. So
Yeah, for
anyway,
sure.
all right, the next one. Let's talk about number 4, focus on family giving. What are ways that families can create traditions or experiences that focus our family on the values of generosity and giving?
Yeah, actually in my book, I write about little Sahana going and giving back, right? Not just of her time and energy, but also of her financial resources that she just earned. And I think it's so important. I think research and select charities together based on your family's shared values and interests, but getting them involved in that is so important. I remember, when my kids were little, we would always say, in lieu of a gift, just donate to this, or in lieu of a gift, will you support this cause that I'm passionate about, whatever. I remember one time a grandmother came and said she didn't agree with this. She thought that this was terrible, that, I was holding back. My kid wasn't going to get gifts that kid his age should be getting. And I was like, oh no, trust me, he has plenty. But I think it's important to show kids that it's not always about you. It's not all about what you want or what you have and what you need at that particular moment, right? I think it's important to show kids it's something greater than yourself. And so and one of my blogs, actually, I wrote about, we had kids donate to the animal shelter because my oldest is the biggest dog lover. We call him the dog whisperer. And every month he would get like a little letter, right, with a picture of the dog that he helped that month. And that was so rewarding. And we would go to the animal shelter and he would sit there and cry because he didn't want to leave all those dogs. But the point being is you got to find a charity or a cause that resonates with your child or your family, and do things together, volunteer together, give together, write checks to them together, so they understand that kindness goes a long way, and helping people is one of the most, I think, important things we need to do as a people, as a society.
I 100% agree. And I tried to focus on this when raising our kids. We did a family giving plan, similar to exactly what you're talking about, is trying to proactively choose, like, what charities do we want to support this year, right? Based on our family values, and have everybody give input. One thing I like to do is collect all the mail, right? We get so much mail of people asking for our money, right? And wonderful
Right.
organizations. Every one of them most likely is a great cause, right? But we
Right.
can't give to everyone.
Right.
And have all of those mail pieces and let the kids like look through them. Is this something we'd want to give to? Is this something? And we would talk about it. And I think it's great to involve them, in that conversation and get them started thinking about what is important to them,
Yeah.
and what is important to our family.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I've never even thought about that. So many times I would get things in the mail, and if it didn't kind of subscribe to what I was into, I kind of threw it away. But I think that's an excellent idea. Excellent.
Yeah, because we do get that, right? All of us get that
Sure.
mail, and like you said, and I hate just throwing it all out whenever they were sending you the labels and whatever they're sending. But I think it's
Sure.
great for conversation. One other thing I wanted to show was our family does what we sing jar. It's getting tinier and tinier now that I'm down to 2 kids at home. But we just keep a jar on our counter where anybody, when you find money or you get money that you didn't get, then we put it in the blessing jar. And then at Christmas time, we decide who we're going to bless with this. Like we drop it on someone's doorstep, or if we know someone's down and out, we choose as a family who we give this to. But it's a constant way to keep giving at the forefront of your families. And that's a blog I'd written about simple glass jar traditions. So that's an easy way too.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the clear glass jars because you can actually see what's in there, right? You can see it grow and
yeah, you can see those pennies that nobody probably wants, but
yeah. Hey, they're not making them anymore, so you might want to keep those pennies.
You know, and the interesting thing is that you don't find money on the ground as much now like you used to, right? Because no one has cash on them.
Right. Everything's going digital, right?
It's going digital. So I don't know how much longer this cute tradition is going to last. But okay, well, let's dive into number 5. This is our last point on investing in tools to help teach financial lessons. Why is it important that we invest in like your book series to read to our kids and for our kids? Why do we need to invest in tools to help us as parents teach these skills?
Right. Well, we know that the startling reality of financial literacy in America is that a large portion of Americans lack basic financial knowledge, right? They're unprepared, they're uninformed, and they make terrible financial decisions. And that's why we see credit card debt at record levels. That's why we see people have poor retirement security. We see financial stress can actually turn into health issues, right? So it's important to start this stuff early. And I love that we have 27 states now that are implementing a standalone personal finance class to be taken prior to graduation, in order to graduate, I should say. And so I think it's important to start early because a lot of these kids that enter high school, it's still a foreign topic to them. So my goal is teach them early, read from a fun, engaging story, and let them read the story and not even realize that they're learning about financial concepts, right? That was my goal, at least. But that was, I just think it's never too early to start teaching your kids about financial literacy so that they end up not being a statistic, what I just, said about having all of this debt or not having retirement or whatever. So I think it's so important to teach these children at an early age financial lessons, whether that be through a book, whether that be, there's some great, we were talking about everything's digitized now, right? There's quite a few places online that can provide debit cards. They can provide ways to invest, but they also have online tools where they can play games and learn how money grows and how you can invest and just educate them, because I do think that it's important for kids to have other ways. It's great to have a book, like a children's book, but as they get older, everything's online. So I think exposing them to all of that is a great way to teach them and give them the tools to learn effectively.
Yeah, I agree. And I put your link to your book right here. And I know it's kind of hard to take off of a video here, but I will link that in the comments of where these videos will be posted. But I have a game that I played a lot with my kids, and this is kind of like a vintage thing now, it looks like. Anyway, it's like yellowing, but the allowance game. I don't know if you've heard of this, but they still sell it at Lakeshore Learning. And it was just a constant in our home, and I'm keeping this because the grandkids one day are going to be playing the allowance game. But it's just like keeping your eyes open, right? I think for games, whatever is authentic to your family and for your teaching. And this starts young, the books, the games, it's a great way, like you said, just to make these conversations part of your family. It's just, they don't even realize that they're learning, right?
They're learning. Yeah. I think games are a great way. And, what do they say? Families that play together, stay together, right? So it's good. And old school Monopoly, Life, all of those board games that we played as kids. Now, actually, my brother-in-law just came in with his family and they have Monopoly and cards. And it's a great way to travel with. But absolutely teach these kids early on about how real life scenarios happen.
Oh, good. Well, maybe you can write us a blog or something telling us some gifts, good gifts that teach financial literacy.
Write that down. Yeah. It's
So
actually,
I know I'm always looking for things like that. And I think most parents are like, where do we even turn? Right. There's so many things to do, things to buy. Like, what do you recommend? I would love to know. And so you'll have to write a
yeah,
blog on
actually, I just wrote that as a comment on my notes pad here. I
it.
will. I'll look at it because it's interesting because when my kids were young, there was things out, right? I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and now it's 10 times better. So that's definitely something I will research.
That's true. Well, I just want to thank you so much, Shireen, for coming on. It's great to talk with you, see you. I'm so excited about what you're doing in your new business and empowering parents to, parents and families, parents, families and kids. And I just know that you're going to provide a lot of value to a lot of families. And I can't wait to help get this in schools. I think this is going to be great in, school libraries because it's a topic we all know that we need. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I've learned just as much from you with all of
Oh,
your blogs and your writing. So I
uh,
appreciate you.
well, thank you. So check out Shireen's website. You can follow her on social media at Sprouting Sparks as well. And I just look forward to continuing to learn from you and check out your blogs and continue to see what you're posting on social media. So thanks for joining us here at Parent on Purpose, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.